Of course, by Colored Rainbow, read by Michelle of UAs-Art. This fic contains no major content warnings, but is tagged with the ship SansGore. If you are uncomfortable with that, please turn away now. Thank you and enjoy the fic. Not many people could say they'd seen the king like this, broken down, miserable, in tears. It wasn't a personal moment that Sans felt he had any right to witness. SansGore had worked hard to maintain his infallible personality, and Sans was sure he hated to be seen like this. He didn't see it coming, or he would have beforehand. They had done nothing out of the ordinary, sat down for a cup of tea and walked about his garden. And then he started to cry. He could imagine why. Being a king couldn't be an easy job, but it was so out of the blue. Sans was already so out of touch with his own emotions. How was he going to comfort someone else? That was always Papyrus's job. He was always the one being cheered up. Sans couldn't bring himself to look away. SansGore's whole mountainous body was trembling, his face buried in his claws. Despite looking more sickly than usual, he was no less magnificent. It was a mystery to Sans how anything so godly could actually exist.
I am sorry.
SansGore boomed, breaking the silence. He wiped his eyes, keeping them directed on the floor.
I do not know what came over me. It's okay. Don't be.
Sans said simply. Sans froze, his breath picking up. He didn't really know what to do, but he couldn't stand to see him like this. He wanted him to feel better, but he knew he could never do that on his own. After a few minutes of silence, save for SansGore's sniffling, Sans stood up and dragged his chair over to the other side of the table, seating himself next to SansGore. He always felt so small next to him. But this time, Sans felt stories high. Sans started, nervously clearing his throat. Asking if he was okay seemed irrelevant. He knew he wasn't.
I'm sorry.
That was a stupid thing to say.
It's quite alright.
SansGore replied.
Sometimes my emotions get the better of me.
Sighing, he sat up straight and looked forward.
I would understand if you wish to go home.
SansGore turned his head, flashing Sans a small smile.
No,
Sans' gaze drifted between each of SansGore's sparkling eyes. He looked so tired. Sans knew the feeling.
You're not bothering me. It's fine.
Swallowing, he relaxed under SansGore's gaze.
It's okay too. Every once in a while, you know?
He chuckled awkwardly, immediately cutting himself off.
It's okay, big guy. You're safe. Thank you.
SansGore rumbled. Sans looked away, gulping. He wished he was better at this sort of thing. Suddenly, SansGore stood up, and Sans did the same immediately after.
Are you...
Before he could finish, SansGore buried himself against Sans, tightly embracing him. Sans' eyes widened as he was pushed into SansGore's mounds of chest fur, enough to impair his sight.
I'm so sorry.
SansGore mumbled, beginning to shake.
I'm incredibly sorry.
Sans closed his eyes, hesitatingly raising his arms to hug him back. He attempted to hold his body, his arms unable to wrap all the way around, and so resulted in dipping his hands into the fur. Sans took a deep breath, taking in the sweet buttercup smell SansGore always carried with him. It was everything Sans could do not to tell him just how much he felt at home there.
It's okay.
Sans whispered, gently moving his hand to pat his back instead.
You're okay.
SansGore let out a croaked sob, making Sans hold him more tightly.
Everything will be fine. Promise.
Sans said, despite himself.
I do not know about that,
SansGore said softly.
but we can hope.
Sans nodded, pressing his face into SansGore's chest.
It gets better.
He lied. SansGore pulled back, looking at Sans.
Thank you for staying. Not just tonight, but through all these years you...
Of course.
He regrettably interrupted.
Of course.
Putting a hand on Sans' shoulder, SansGore sighed.
I had better lie down. Get some rest.
Sans opened his mouth to ask to stay, but nothing came out.
Thank you dearly, Sans. For everything, I could always count on you.
Of course.